Hello again. I'm a little surprised I've been consistent enough to even be back again this week. So, um, I don't know. I think that's saying a lot for me. But nevertheless, I'm happy to be back. A lot of stuff has happened just with life in general. And I'll probably share that in a little bit. But I think we're sort of rebranding to be a little bit more of a reading and an ASMR channel. Um, I don't know if I mentioned before, but I've always loved ASMR and been a fan. So hopefully we'll have some good sounds going as well. Um, as for now, though, the main focus will still be on reading through this book or dictionary. I have some ideas for stuff to read for the future, but for now, we'll just see if we can get through the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. I'm a little bit dehydrated. But I guess story for today. I visited a gravesite with my family. It's a gravesite of my grandparents. Uh, it was relatively uneventful. Um, my grandpa passed away from COVID, and my grandma passed away from complications due to diabetes. So it was quite a few years ago, but nevertheless, I believe the last word that we read was Zielschmerz. Zielschmerz. So I'm going to read this one now. Onism. The awareness of how little of the world you'll experience. You can hear it in the Islamic call to prayer at dawn, in the afternoon school bell, in a train whistle howling in the distance at night. It's encoded in the flicker of fluorescent lights, in the lyrics of lullabies, in lottery numbers, and in the word archipelago. You can smell it in sunscreen and diesel fumes and old books that fall apart in your hands. Taste it in lukewarm champagne and hot blood trickling from a wound on your forehead. It's packed aboard the Voyager spacecraft, currently fleeing our solar system like a flare fired from the deck of a sinking ship. Sometimes you feel it vibrating in your pocket, even when it's not there. It's a delirious madness built into all living things. Right from the beginning, each of us has to confront a certain fundamental paradox. In order to be anywhere, you have to be somewhere. You have to confine yourself to just one body, excuse me, inhabiting only one place at a time. This is the only perspective you'll ever have, the only stretch of history you'll ever get to see for yourself. Even though you may be lucky enough to serve as a witness to the universe, you're cursed. By the knowledge that you can only scratch the surface of it. You feel like those first explorers, thousands of years ago, who drew their maps right to the edge of the known world and had to make their place, or had to make their peace with vast stretches of blank space. It's strange how little of the world you actually get to see. No matter where on Earth you happen to be standing, the horizon you see in the distance is only ever about 3 miles away from you, a bit less than 5 kilometers, which means that at any given time, you're barely more than an hour's walk away. More than an hour's walk from a completely different world. Alas, even if you lace up your boots and take off for the hills, the circle of your horizon will follow you around like a prison searchlight. The gravel under your feet will always look gritty and literal. The mountains in the distance will always seem bluish and otherworldly, which means your surroundings will always be infused with a certain ambivalence. Maybe this is where you belong, or maybe there's something far better just over the next ridge. Without calibrating your perspective to the breadth of all possible options, you have no way of knowing. You'll always have to wonder. Still, most of the time, you manage to keep your focus on the bright circle of your immediate experience while your brain gets to work building a mental picture of everything you might be missing, doodling away in the blank spaces on the map. It starts by extrapolating outward from the world. If you've seen one little town, you've seen them all, and fills out the remainder with a collage of secondhand accounts and postcard snapshots. You may never make it to Egypt, but you've already built the pyramids inside your head. You might have only seen a few samurai movies and anime shows, but still assume you have a half decent understanding of Japanese culture. In this way, you build yourself a mental model of what lies beyond your horizon. It's not perfect, but it's good enough to fill in the blanks. Sometimes all you need is a single word on a map. Tuanaki, Saxonburg, Antilia, and your mind fills up with visions of what might be out there. But sometimes, late at night, you look out at the lights flickering in the distance, just on the edge of the horizon, and find yourself struggling to imagine the alternate universe that each of them represents. You think of all the places you'll never have time to explore, some of which might feel like the home you never had, or like a living hell, or like a walking around on another planet. You might one day be able to visit one or two or 10 of these places, but you'll never be able to shake the feeling that with every step you take, 1,000 more lights will appear, and 1,000 more, and 1,000 more. It's as if you're standing in front of the departure screen in an airport, flickering over with so many exotic place names, each representing one more path you could explore, or one more thing you'll never get to see before you die. And all because, as the arrow on the map helpfully points out, you are here. It's strange to think that some of those lights in the distance might be looking right back at you, just barely able to make out the lamp shining over your back door from 3 miles away. There might even be a few people peering down from a plane passing overhead, wondering to themselves what it's like to be standing right where you're standing. And they might even be feeling a sense of loss, knowing they'll never have time to explore your corner of the world. But then they'll banish the thought. They can already picture it clearly, in their heads. We all know that there's no such thing as a tropical paradise or hell on earth, that faraway people are neither angelic monks nor snarling grotesques, that their lives are just as messy and troubled and mundane as our own. But like the first explorers, we can't help ourselves from sketching monsters in the blank spaces on the map. Perhaps we find their presence comforting. They guard the edges of the abyss and force us to look away, so we can live comfortably in the known world, at least for a little while. But if someone were to ask you on your deathbed what it was like to live here on Earth, perhaps the only honest answer would be, I don't know. I passed through it once, but I've never really been there. In philosophy, monism is a belief that a wide variety of things can be explained in terms of a single reality, substance, or source. Onism is a kind of monism. Your life is indeed limited to a single reality by virtue of being restricted to a single body, but something is clearly missing, pronounced onism. Wow. So, I think there's a lot to unpack there, personally. But if anything, I think this word also probably ties a little bit into Sonder, because, um, a lot of people, it's just this awareness that other people are out there living their lives and everyone's the protagonist of their own story. And really, all you can say for sure is that you know your own little experience and perspective of the world. And I think a lot of people probably come to this awareness at some point in their lives. A lot of people will react differently to it, I suppose. Some might react by traveling to a lot of places and trying to experience as much as they can of the world. And others might just be content in their own little corner of the world. Because, at that point, why fight it? No matter how much, or at least not in one human lifetime, it'll be very difficult to experience absolutely everything in the world. And that's okay. Your limited experiences are still valuable, and they're still yours. At least that's the way I see it. But it's rather a wonderful and a beautiful thing. It does make me a little sad sometimes because And I guess this is leading to my little anecdote, my little story I wanted to tell. Um, Completely unintentional, by the way, but uh, I met someone a couple days ago from quite a different part of the world. So I was visiting NYC, uh, like once, like one of many times. This was on Thursday, by the way, so about 2 days ago. I was visiting New York just by myself. Um, I would go with friends if I had more friends available, and maybe just more friends in general. But um, I was in New York City. I've always wanted to visit a record shop for the longest time. I've never been to one. Well, I've never been to one, I guess, more seriously. I did go to, there was a time before Thursday, I did sort of visit a record shop, but I kind of just stepped inside and stepped out. So I don't really count that. Um, but I went to this nice little local shop in East Village, in NYC, called A1 Records, um, around 5:30 p.m. And me, being a complete newbie to the whole vinyl, LP, physical media scene, I just instantly went to one of the record boxes and I just started browsing through them. Of course, I sorted through the names of so many artists I didn't recognize, and some I did. Um, saw quite a lot of famous household names, but also some lesser known ones. I believe A1 Records is more of a vintage record shop, so they had a lot of oldies, but also goodies. And there were a couple other people at the shop, of course. Some of them looked around my age, some a little older, some could be younger, but no clue. But I do remember there's this one girl there that sort of caught my eye. And I overheard her ask the store employee if they had anything from the Smashing Pumpkins. And I never heard of the Smashing Pumpkins before, but of course I did look them up later and listen to them. They're quite good. So thank you, stranger. But continue the story, I guess. She asked about the Smashing Pumpkins. The kind store employee told her that he didn't believe they had anything from the Smashing Pumpkins there. He seemed very knowledgeable too. I think most of the time when anyone asked him something, he instantly knew whether they had an inventory or not. Um, but he said they didn't have anything from the Smashing Pumpkins. I think he talked to her about some other recommendations and whatnot. But she went back to browsing through the boxes, and at this point, I was already hooked. I guess my interest was piqued. It was grabbed. So I kept a little eye on her at the corner of my eye while I was browsing through stuff. I'd walk to this corner of the store, walk to that corner of the store. It's me being awkward. Um, I finally gathered up the courage to talk to her, or I guess initiate some form of conversation. So I just sidled up beside her, uh, looking through the record box next to her, and I just casually asked, like, "Oh, you still looking for that album from the Smashing Pumpkins?" And she's like, "Yeah, like I was coming here looking for that." I think she said something along those lines. But really, she was looking for um, anything that sounded good. I think because as soon as I said that, I also told her, I said, this is like my first time at a record store, and as soon as I said that, she kind of perked up because it was also her first time at a record store, which I thought was really fun. It was a really funny coincidence. Um, we got to talking for a little bit. I found out she was a solo traveler from Argentina, and she was visiting New York City for a couple days, about 3 days to be exact. She was staying till Sunday, and today is Saturday, or yeah, it's Saturday today. So she was staying till Sunday, and she was looking to take home some vinyls, I guess, to either get started in the hobby or just as a souvenir, a little memoir, or a little piece of memorabilia from New York City. So I take it she was probably visiting a lot of famous local spots, including A1 Record Shop. But so she purchased, or sorry, I think I'm jumping a little ahead. We got to talking a bit. Um, she told me a little bit about her field of study. Um, she told me a little bit of some interesting facts about universities in Argentina that I didn't know because she does go to school. Um, she said I think she finished the first part of her education and now is entering the second part. And I looked up a little bit about the Argentinian education system. I wasn't entirely sure, but I think there's something called like a licenciatura, and which is like the equivalent of undergrad for here in the U.S. And from what it sounded like, she was pursuing her master's or some other form of higher ed. And she was in the second year of that, I believe she told me. So I just recently turned 22, so I think she's probably a couple of years older than me. But she told me a little bit about that. I thought it was just super interesting. She was really fun to talk to, and I also loved her accent. Um, but basically, I just asked her, you looking for anything specific? And she was like, no, not really. Like, just looking for anything that like sounds good or is interesting. We also talked a little bit about our own music tastes and stuff. Kind of mentioned that I like Fall Out Boy and Linkin Park, and I think she mentioned that it's always such a funny thing when people ask her music taste, because whenever people ask her, she just blanks out. And I thought that was so funny because that happens to me too. Because I literally listen to like a lot of different music, and it's hard for me, I think, to just say one certain thing. Oh yes, but she does listen to rock too, because the Smashing Pumpkins is a rock band. But I'll find myself listening to like some indie stuff. Oh, she listens to a lot of indie, I believe too. Like I'll find myself listening to indie, like indie pop, some like country mix, some neo country. I don't know. um, and of course, like some emo, a lot of emo stuff for me personally. I do be listening to a lot of stuff like that. Um, MGK, Youngblood. I don't even know why I didn't mention those artists there. Well, like like we mentioned, when you're put on the spot like that, you'd be thrown out, whatever at that point. But it was really fun talking to her. So after that little music exchange, I asked her if she wanted to do a little fun activity. That being, we each pick out like a record or an album, and we'll both listen to it. Since the store did have 2 listening stations there, and she was pretty excited about that idea. So she picked out something. I think it was an album from David Bowie, and I picked out something from Van Morrison because I did recognize that name. I love the song Brown Eyed Girl, but I couldn't find the album that had that song because I assume it's pretty popular, and whoever else found it probably snagged it. But actually, let me. I guess we're taking a small little detour from reading. If you do want to continue for the reading part, if you're a viewer or listener, I suppose you could skip forward. But I'm going to get up for a second to grab the record that I purchased. I actually didn't purchase the record on the same day, though. I'll get to that in a little bit, I suppose. But oh, bumped into my desk there. But came in a nice little paper bag, courtesy of A1 Records. But yeah. album, I believe, is called Common One by Van Morrison. See if I can get the full thing in there. It's a little bit beaten up and old looking, but they are a vintage record shop that specializes in buying and selling used records. And honestly, I'm not sure like how such a shop even turns a profit, because from what it seems like they buy just as many as they sell, and maybe they do get by on a lot of donations as well. But suffice to say, they have been in the neighborhood for a while, I believe, just from a little cursory search. And a lot of people frequent there, so maybe that's why they're able to stay afloat. But let me just reach into this little sleeve here. Oh, so I think she actually picked out a different record initially. Yeah, she did pick out a different record initially at the record store. And the thing was, though, she picked out like a mint condition record, so it was like in a completely sealed sleeve, with absolutely no opening whatsoever. So, uh, luckily, this is one of the few stores, I think, at least from what I have seen, that lets you play their used records in the store. So if you find one that's already open, you can pretty much just slot it into their player. But so when we initially got to the listening station to play them, she was like, "Oh, I think this one's not open, so I have to go pick a new one." So that's when she went to pick one from David Bowie. But while she was picking a new record to check out, I took the liberty of speaking and asking the store employee how exactly to operate a record player. I had a vague idea already of how to, but just to make sure and also be respectful of the store, I did ask him to show me. And a couple things he showed me. He was very knowledgeable. This is on the outer rim of most vinyls, or all vinyls, I believe, is the dead zone. I think it's called the dead zone. Let me just quickly look that up because I don't want to give you wrong info. But the spine, I think. Is it called the spine? Yeah, I think it's called the spine. Flat edge, the spine. I don't know why I said dead zone. Wait. I see the vinyl forum. Trail wax. Dead wax. Probably doesn't matter, but I love like little niche names for things like like something like you see the edge of a window frame. It's like molding, or like the classic one that people know from Phineas and Ferb, like the aglet of your shoelace. But I keep on seeing like a record sleeve, but I'm not talking about the sleeve. I'm talking about the blank spot. But anyways, like he said, this is like the spine, the dead zone. I love to go on little tangents. So he said, when you take it out of the sleeve, yeah, this being the sleeve, make sure to grab it by the spine, so you don't mar the grooves on the record, because that's what makes a sound. And I do not have a record player right now, but I did order one to come. I've always been interested in vinyl, but I've only really, I guess, accelerated that interest and took interest these last couple of days because of my little chance encounter with that girl. But do not have a vinyl player right now. I do have some speakers I picked up from Facebook Marketplace though, because I needed a new set of powered speakers with an RCA connection so I could connect the turntable. And there's this whole world of vinyls and records that I just dove into. And apparently, you need like a phono preamp or whatever that's called to regulate or modulate the frequency and convert it or equalize it to sound to the speakers. But I think the turntable I bought, which is from Audio Technica, does have a phono amp pre-built into it already. So um, I'm sure people could go on all day about records, but I don't know why I just keep on flipping this to show. But there's really not much I can do, I guess. But anyways, he took the record, he showed me how to hold it, and he just set it down very gently on top of the felt pad. Oh, funny thing. Um, the girl, since she was also new to records, she thought you had to put the vinyl beneath the felt pad. I was like, once the employee taught me, I was like, no, 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 I think it goes above it. But even before he taught me, I was pretty sure it went above it because if you think about it for a couple seconds, it's like, okay, if I put it underneath the little covering, the felt pad, how am I supposed to put the needle on top of the record? But I can see how someone wouldn't think of that at the time, though. I didn't really think about that at the time either. But yeah, he instructed me to place it on top of the felt pad. Um, Power on the record player, of course. Uh, and just start it spinning. I think there is like different, some records are 33 RPM and some are 45 RPM. And I believe this one was 33 RPM. So for different records, you do have to play them at different speeds, I believe. It's, yeah, for the belt to drive. And yeah, we place it down, set it spinning, the start and stop button. And he instructed me to very gently just drop the needle onto the edge of the record, for the start. Or, of course, I could drop it farther down to start at different parts of the album. And now that I look at this, I'm realizing that some of these grooves are a little bigger than others. And I think that's probably where the start and ends of each of the tracks are. Because I'm just seeing now that this side has 3 songs, it seems like, and there seems to be 3 of these thicker grooves. So it's pretty interesting. I'll have fun fooling around with that once my record player comes. But of course, you don't want to drop it down too harshly, or else you'll damage the record. And I just think it's so cool that just from something like grooves and plastic, we can get really crisp sounding sound. And that gets converted to something that we can hear. So he showed me how to do that. I listened to the record I chose, which is this one, for a little bit. And the girl came back and she brought her new little record to play. So we both listened to our own for a little while. And then I took off my headphones and asked her if she wanted to listen to each other's and switch. And we did. We looked at each other for a little bit. Had our like headphone wires are like crossed and tangled a little bit. It was a little awkward and weird. I'm sure we could have just like switched spots or something. But you know me. Or maybe you don't know me. But if you do know me, you'll know I'm awkward as hell. I get flustered really easily. And I'm like a shy person in general. Although I've been trying to be more extroverted. And I've made a lot of progress since an old version of me wouldn't have even bothered talking to her. So anyways, we listened to it for a little bit. I think we were both a little bit awkward. Me more so, but I honestly I need to listen to more David Bowie. after her. She did have a pretty good pick there. Um, and she listened to the track I was listening to on the Van Morrison album. I think it was Wild Honey. Not entirely sure. Yeah, I think it was Wild Honey, which is right there. Um, and she was nodding her head, so sounds pretty good. And honestly, I don't know if she just said that to be nice though, because honestly, I wasn't really vibing too much with my own pick. I'm not really a fan of like slower music, I guess. I've been too spoiled by modern taste in music, but she seemed to be pretty into a lot of older stuff, a lot of stuff I haven't heard as well too. Um, so maybe she did actually like what I picked out. But let me put this back in the sleeve before I drop it and crack it or something. But oh, I'm also trying to like continue to speak while doing all this. But I hope to expand my vinyl collection day by day, month by month. Hopefully, when I'm not nearly as broke. This $15 album was already an hour of my wages for my campus job, I suppose. I don't even work that many hours. But I hope to one day expand my vinyl collection. I hope to still be in the vinyl hobby. And yeah. So we did listen to stuff for a bit more. We did listen to some stuff for a bit more. I went to look for other stuff in the store because I wanted to see if I could find anything I recognized. But A1 Records is not the place to have A1, or it's not the place to have like Fall Out Boy or Linkin Park or anything like that. I did ask the store employee too. He said Linkin Park records are quite hard to come by. So they do go quite fast, or they're in high demand. So I think a lot of the newer stuff is. But I was looking for some stuff. She went back to look into. We caught eyes a couple times more, chatted a bit more about stuff. And honestly, yeah, I can't believe the interaction was just 2 days ago. But she looked a bit more, I think, for the one that she wanted. She was able to pick it out, and she went to the register to pay, and she bought her record. And me, I was just still trying to look busy. I was just going through the boxes, looking for anything interesting, mostly just recognizing and not recognizing a lot of different names. But I was just looking, and I kind of regret not just straight up buying the Van Morrison record then and there, because then I would have bought something, or I would have bought it, and then she would have bought her record, and maybe we could have walked out at around the same time. But I was just so fixated on not seeming too eager, I guess, or awkward, even though it was awkward as hell. So I was just minding my own business in the boxes, and she did buy her record, and I thought she was just gonna leave there, but she did go up to me before she left, and she opened her arms for a hug, which I was really surprised about, and I thought it was really nice. I thought she was so cute too. But she opened her arms for a hug, and I gave her a hug, and I was like very awkward about it, of course. And while we were hugging, she asked me. She said it was very nice, chatting with you today. It was very nice speaking with you. I had a lot of fun. And she asked me what my name was. So, oh my god, I don't even think I've properly introduced my name on this channel yet, but I know my name is in the channel, or it's pretty much assumed. But I told her my name was Nate, And my name is Nate. So I said, yeah, my name's Nate. What's yours? And she told me her name was Sophia. And I absolutely love the name Sophia. But, well, maybe a little bit biased because of that encounter. But she told me her name was Sophia. I thought it was a very beautiful name. Uh, and she said, my name's Sophia. And she said, I have to get going now because I have to make a show pretty soon. But it was nice chatting with you. And she said, maybe I'll see you again. And I don't know if she said it in the way that was like, maybe I'll see you again, in like a questioning manner, or it was like, maybe I'll see you again, in more of a statement manner. But either way wouldn't have mattered because I do think that was probably an opening where I should have asked for her number or asked to give her my number or exchange some form of contact, WhatsApp, Telegram, I don't know. But she just said, maybe I'll see you again. And I said, yeah. Because I think in my subconscious, some part of me did think I'd somehow run into her again in NYC of all places, just out in the open, out in the blue. And I don't know what I was thinking. I even had like some time to think for myself, like 30 seconds to a minute after she left. I could have just ran out of the store, ran after her, done something, but I just stood there. I was just content. I was really happy to have chatted with her. I didn't really think much more of that, and I wasn't sure too if she wanted me to ask. I also figured, maybe if she was interested, she would ask me. But uh, good things do not come to people who wait around. If there's anything I've learned in my life, sometimes you have to just be the one to take action. Just go ahead, be the one to invite people out to a hangout. Be the one to start a conversation, to initiate. And I guess the burden of that probably did fall on me because I did initiate talking to her. So I should have seen it through all the way to the end, but I didn't. I think my nerves got the best of me, and I did get a little bit flustered from her hug. And man, I was just a wreck. But Sophia, the tourist from Argentina, if you're ever out there, if you ever watch this, please know I still think about you. Reach out to me if you want. But I made a little post on a Missed Connections website for New York about that little encounter uh, about a day after, which was yesterday. So I think I posted on Missed You NYC. I also tried posting some subreddits, but the mods there are crazy, and they just like, oh, you're breaking the rules of our subreddit. So they didn't go much anywhere. But I still think about that encounter. I don't know for how much longer I'm going to think about it. I know it's still a little fresh in my mind since it's only been like 2 days. And I'll probably be thinking about it till at least Sunday, where I know she leaves. But part of me wishes I just ran out after her and said, does it need to be maybe? Does it need to be maybe? Do we need to maybe run into each other? Can we guarantee it? But it's easy to reflect on what we should have done, what we could have done. I probably should have grown some balls and asked for her number there, but I didn't. And I'm a little sad about it. But, that's a whole life that she'll be experiencing that I won't know anymore. Or I'll have known it up to the point where I met her. And then once we parted, went our separate paths again. I do hope that wherever she is right now, whatever she's doing right now, she's doing well. But that's my little feeling of onism, I suppose. But back to my little corner of the world, I suppose, which is still beautiful in its own way. But it does make me a little sad. I might never get to see Sophia's side of the world again. But I'm a little inspired to visit Argentina now. So One of the top countries on my list of places to visit when I'm able to travel is Nepal, and second on that list is probably Argentina. If you're asking why Nepal for the first, I have a lot of friends that are Nepali, so I've always wanted to visit their home country. Maybe see Kathmandu and a couple other places. I just know Nepal is like beautiful too. It's like mountainy places too. Um, but I do want to visit Argentina now. I think there's a lot to be experienced in this world. You don't need any crazy deep reasons to want to visit a place other than what it might remind you of a person or how it might make you feel. And I do apologize if my voice sounds a bit different or even stuffier today. I feel like allergies hit me in full force today for the season, and I'm quite allergic to pollen. I was sneezing up a storm this morning, especially at the graveyard. Um, but my eyes are like super itchy too. But oh yeah, so I guess I'll give a little rundown of my day. So yeah, this morning I did a gravesite visit. Right after that, I went to meet someone from Facebook Marketplace to pick up the speakers that I got, all for the turntable. Oh, and yesterday I visited the city too. After my classes, I visited one more time because I wanted to see if the store employee from Thursday was still there. Because I was hoping to speak to him, see if he remembered me and Sophia, and see if I could leave my phone number with the shop just in case she came back or to look for me. But I also reached out to their Instagram, left a little message. I'm not sure if they'll ever read it. But I am going to the city again tomorrow, though. But this time I'm going to Williamsburg to explore Brooklyn, explore that little part of Brooklyn. So I might visit A1 again if I have time to stop by. But originally I was inviting a bunch of friends to go visit Williamsburg with, but a lot of them I don't think were fully on board with the idea, or they canceled, or they had other commitments. So I might be solo traveling myself a bit tomorrow again, which is honestly fine. Like, if Thursday showed me anything, I'm very much capable of meeting people, making new connections and friends. So, who knows? Hopefully, or maybe I might meet another Sophia, or maybe I might run into Sophia. The world is only so big and so small. But I actually got a little bit, I'm going to sound deranged for this, I guess. But I almost got a little bit more sad, melancholy, a little bit desperate today. And I was highly considering the feasibility of hiring like a private investigator or something to look for Sophia or this misconnection. And I did call up a private investigator earlier today, a couple hours earlier actually. It's pretty recent. And I believe the investigator service was called. It was called Black Ops Private Investigators. And I believe the person who runs that little enterprise, his name was Manuel. And I got to speak to him over the phone for a little bit. He was very kind. He responded very quickly to my call. And, I kind of just gave him a really quick rundown of what happened between me and Sophia. And he just got straight to the point about my specific situation. Um, as a man who's clearly had his share of life experiences, I could just tell. He gave me some encouraging words. And he told me if it's really meant to be, who knows what happens. You might run into each other again. Your paths might cross again. And he seemed to be a person that just believed in that sort of thing. Things, you know, turning out the way they're supposed to. So he also advised me like not to waste my money on other investigators because he said other private investigators might try to take advantage of you or scam you essentially out of your money. Because he frankly like told me there's just not enough info for him to go off of, and even if he could, like from what I told him, he wouldn't be able to get that info because it would not be ethical. Which I figured I already knew about the ethical qualms of this, but I figured I'd ask a professional, I suppose, to tell me straight up. And he did give me the answer that I sort of expected. But after just that one conversation, though, I feel like I did clear up a lot of things in my head. I got a lot of clarity, and I felt ready to put, those thoughts to rest. And even if I might think about Sophia for like another week or so, or maybe even a month, I don't know. Uh, those thoughts will come to a full rest eventually. But anyways, Manuel, I respected him a lot. Very professional. It seemed like a person of a lot of integrity. And I even left like a Google review for him. But talking is free, advice is free, and he didn't try to charge me for anything. He just basically had our little consultation there, and he just gave me some very good life advice there. But suffice to say, if I ever needed to investigate someone for more legitimate reasons in the future, I definitely know who to call. Um, but I do think that I might want to put a little more of my life or in the hands of fate. And even if tomorrow's the last day Sophia's in the city, I'm gonna be heading to the city. So NYC is a big place, but I still know approximately the area, like I guess where we ran into each other. There's only, she's visiting a lot of the bigger tourist spots. We might encounter each other, but at the same time, I also realized like we could walk past each other and not even notice. Almost the appearance of how she looks like in my mind is like fading already. But I do remember her backpack though quite clearly. She had like a black backpack with like all the Molly straps on it, like one of those like tactical backpacks. But who knows? Might run into each other again. I guess I'll try my best not to have my earphones in most of the time because you miss a lot when you're plugged in, and that's part of why I think that it might be very likely that we could even walk past each other and not even notice. But if we do run into each other again, I am for sure asking her for her number. Even if she has a boyfriend already, or a girlfriend, or a partner, whatever it may be, I do not want to lose a connection like that ever again. I'll be sure to keep that in mind for the future, for any future connections I make as well. Some people you just know, I guess you feel, and whether it's because of the uniqueness of the connection you made or how you made it, I do think it's very important how people meet as well. Not just that they meet. I think two people can be very compatible, but if they meet under the wrong circumstances, then that connection will just never be afforded opportunity to grow. Same time though, two people who are just completely incompatible meet at the right time. Small aside, that was sort of the case of me and my second ex, but I won't go too deep into that. But two people who are incompatible and meet at the right time, could lead to something forming that might otherwise be doomed to fail, but nonetheless will fail later down the line, which is still fine. All connections are beautiful in their own way. And yeah, that was my little story. I got to share that little slice of my life. It is getting quite late. I know we only read one word technically, But I'm kind of tuckered out, and this is a bit of a longer episode than usual. So, suppose we'll leave that there. And the next part, 2, well, I think that's a proper way to end it. The interior wilderness, defining who you are from the inside out. So, I might revisit this tomorrow if I'm not too tired from my little trip out to Williamsburg. But I hope to visit lots of spots, including another record store in the area in Williamsburg. And yeah, can't wait to spend lots of money I don't have. But I know right now, at least, not getting a whole ton of views on these videos or at all. But I hope if there's any, and for any future viewers, I hope you know that I do appreciate you. And yeah, catch you next time.